Okay, for 2.1, we are looking at this graph, y equals x squared. This is called a quadratic function. When your front variable or whatever it is out front, that's squared. Where x is squared here, it makes this nice U-shaped graph called a parabola. Okay, and this is where we're just going to be basing everything off of. In our base function, y equals x squared, look at our vertex. It's at 0, 0. And we're going to be talking about in 2.1 how this graph moves based on what we plug into our equation. So if I have y equals x squared, and I said at the end of it plus 1. Let's say I'm going to put a 1 right here. How is this graph going to move? And I want you to think about it. Is it going to move to the left, to the right, up, or down? And think about that for a second. It's going to move up. It's going to move up 1. It's off at the end. It's going to move up 1. Okay, let's try another one. If I had y equals x squared, and I was going to subtract 3, where is that original red graph? Where is that going to move? It's going to move left, right, up, or down. It's going to move down. It's going to move down 3 units because it was minus 3. So our vertex goes from 0, 0 to 0, 3. What happens if I had y equals x squared plus 10? Where's that going to move? Where's that original red graph? Where is that going to move? It's going to move way up here, up to 10. Okay, so that's moving up and down. What about left and right? If I have, in parentheses, y equals x plus 2, and I'm going to square that whole thing, it's going to be a U shape. But is it going to move this red graph left or right? If I have x plus 2, it's actually going to move it to the left 2 units, which is weird because it's x plus 2. When we have in parentheses, I want you to think opposite. So if it's plus 2, we're going to the left. If it's minus 2, we're going to the right. Okay, so for example, y equals x minus, let's say 4. I'm going to square that. Where's our vertex going to move? It's going to move over here to 4, 0, right? If I square that. Right there. There's our vertex. It goes over to the right 4. There's our vertex 4, 0. One more. Y equals x, let's say, x plus 7. Where's that vertex going to move? It's going to move all the way to the left. Over here to negative 7, 0. Okay. So my vertex is right here at negative 7, 0. What happens, let's say I have x plus 2 squared, and then at the end, I'm going to subtract 3. Where is that going to move that graph? I want you to think about it before I type it in. Where is that going to move the graph? If I have x plus 2, that's going to move it to the left 2. And then minus 3, is that going to move it up or down? It's going to move it down. Right, so there's our vertex right there. Negative 2, negative 3. It went to the left 2 and down 3. What if I have x minus 4? I'm going to square that. Okay, so that should be to the right 4. Then I'm going to say plus 6. Where's that going to move that vertex? It's going to move it up, right? So to the right 4, up 6. Our vertex is 4, 6. And now, what if I have a number out in front of that x squared? What's going to happen to it? I want you to think about it. If I have y equals 4x squared compared to this red graph, how's it going to move? Is it going to move left, right, up, or down? Let's see. Let's square it. What happened? This blue graph is skinnier than the red graph, right? The blue graph is skinnier. What made it skinnier? This number 4 out front. It's bigger then we could technically say in this red graph, we could put a 1 there. Right? 4 is bigger than 1. What happens if I go 10x squared? Where's that going to be? It's going to be even skinnier than the blue one, right? And then I could say something crazy like y equals 1,000. Oh, 1,000x squared. Look at that. It doesn't even look like a parabola anymore. But if we zoom in, I can see that it is still a parabola. Perfect. What makes it wider? What makes it wider? I want you to think about it. Come up with an answer. Oh. It's actually a fraction. A fraction smaller than 1. Between 0 and 1, that's the definition. So here's our original red graph. When we have a number that's smaller than 1, right here, actually gets wider. Right? Or if I said 0.4x squared, right? 0.4 is less than 1. And it's even less than half. So it gets even wider. What if I said, oh, 0.000x squared. I'm going to have to zoom way out for that one. Look at this. Oh, because it's 0. Look at that. I need to put a number there. Oops, that's my bad. 2. Now we're way too far out. There's our parabola. Keep zooming in. There's our originals. Okay. So we call this, when it gets wider, a vertical shrink. When it gets wider, we call it a vertical shrink. It's like we're pushing down from the top up here and pushing up from the bottom. So we're pushing towards each other, and then they get fatter. Okay. When we have a number bigger than 1, like, oops, like 4, we call it a vertical stretch. When it gets skinny, we call it a vertical stretch. It's like we're pulling from the vertex, and we're pulling from the top of our graph, and we're stretching it out. It's getting skinnier. It's a vertical stretch. What happens if I put a negative in front of that x squared? What happens then? It actually flips it. Right? It actually flips it. So if I have y equals negative x squared, and then I said plus 3, where's that graph going to move? It's going to move, it's going to flip over the x-axis, and it's going to move right here. Good. Our vertex moved up 3. Our vertex now becomes 0, 3. So here's a challenge problem. How does this graph move? If I have y equals 3x squared, I'm going to have y equals 3x squared. That's our vertical stretch. Right? Does our vertex move? No. What if I said plus 5? Like where our vertex went, up to 0, 5. So to explain this transformation, we'd say this is a vertical stretch, and it moved up 5. And our vertex would now be 0, 5. What if I had y equals 5 times x minus 3? I'm going to square that. So if I have 5 times x minus 3, and I square it, first let's start with the 5. Is it going to make it wider or skinnier? It's going to make it skinnier. This x minus 3, is it going to move the graph left or right? Well, it's minus 3, so it's going to move it to the right. So I'm going to hit squared. But then I'm going to say minus 5. Where's our vertex going to be? It's going to be to the right 3. Actually, I'm going to say minus 4, so we're not using the same numbers. Minus 3 and down 4. It's going to be right there. Okay, so this number out front, this 5, doesn't change where the vertex is. That just tells you it's going to be skinnier than this red graph. Okay, challenge problem here. Describe the transformation. I'm going to have y equals negative 0.3 x plus 4. We're going to square it. Okay, so I want to know, how is this going to flip? Just this part right here. This is negative. What's going to happen to this with this negative? It's going to flip over that x-axis. That 0.3 is going to make it wider than our original graph, right? So it's going to be a vertical shrink. It's x plus 4, so it's going to go to the left 4, and I'm going to say plus 2. It's going to go up 2. So our vertex is now negative 4, 2.